Hi, I'm Brittany Nguyen and welcome to the first edition of my Pixar presentations. This month, Animal Antagonism, starring Ratatouille. In Disney Pixar's Ratatouille, rats as a species are initially portrayed as filthy, disgusting, and unworthy of life. This idea is illustrated in several scenes, such as the one in which Remy, the main rat character, is found snooping around an old woman's house looking for herbs. The woman, upon seeing him, immediately pulls out a rifle and begins shooting at him. Fortunately, she's a terrible shot and misses Remy all 54 times she even tries, destroying her house in the process. In another scene, Remy is seen roaming the streets of France when he passes a pest extermination shop. The window of the shop is decorated in rat corpses, traps, and poisons displayed for all bypassers to admire. Evidently based on Ratatouille, the Western world despises rats, but it's not an ultimate library of truths. Caucasians and Asians often dispute one another regarding the perceptions and treatments of different animals, and in what ways do these cultural differences lead to conflicts? To clarify, even though every culture is unique in its own way, the rat probably isn't the best example to use. Speaking as both an Asian and an American, the rat isn't respected in either culture due to its notoriety for spreading plague everywhere. But other animals are more controversial. Take the dog, for example. According to doctoral candidate Hallie Sheed and Professor Cynthia Chandler from the University of North Texas, Caucasians view dogs as companions, sources of unconditional love and support, and even family members. On the other side of the spectrum, Asians historically kept dogs as guards, so these animals invoke fear in the modern day. Furthermore, lack of space and finances prevented Asians from owning dogs generations back, so the idea of having a dog as a pet is pretty uncommon. These are small differences, right? Nothing to make a big deal of, but it's not that simple. Because Asians don't see dogs as companions, we eat them. This is quite a common practice as seen in Yulin, Guangxi, China. Every year, the city hosts the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, and every year, protesters try to stop it. Is as stated by the writers at Animals Asia, a website that advocates for the compassion and respect towards all animals, the dogs are treated inhumanely before being eaten. Most dogs are either strays or supposedly pets that have been stolen, with the latter being terribly unlikely due to the aforementioned perceptions of dogs in Asian society. At the beginning of their journey, they're crammed into small cages without food or water. When they arrive at the meat traders, they're killed one by one via stabbing, electrocuting, hanging, and other highly inefficient processes. While these methods do seem cruel, it's reasonable to believe that the Yulin Dog Meat Festival only attracts majorly Western protesters due to their bias towards dogs as companion animals. Furthermore, the killing methods and treatments of these dogs in this event are actually unbeknownst to most of the public. Even if demonstrators did oppose the cruel conditions that dogs are placed in before they're consumed, they'd be extraordinarily hypocritical because the treatment of cows, which are largely consumed in the West, is far, far worse. According to PETA, cows endure horrific conditions as they're raised on Western farms. Viewed as only things meant to feed the superior humans, they're branded and castrated without anesthesia. Their fatty diets cause gas buildups and ulcers in their stomachs, and the manure-tainted air causes respiratory issues, neither of which can be aided due to the inadequate veterinary care that the cows receive. When they're at their peak, they, like the Yulin dogs, are crammed into small trucks without food, water, or rest. Upon their arrival at the meat trader, some cows, called downers, are so exhausted that they must be dragged off the truck with metal chains or ropes. There, they're shot in the head with stun guns. Unfortunately, many cattle workers are untrained and don't fully stun cows, so some of them are partly conscious when their throats are slit. This method of killing is highly inefficient and painful, as it takes 7 whole minutes for a cow to fully bleed out and die. So there are many, many parallels between the treatment of dogs in Asia and cows in Western areas, but Westerners are only outraged by the former. But don't be mistaken, Asians also protest about how certain animals are treated in Western countries, but not to the same extent. To the Hindus, the cow is a sacred animal because it produces milk, the backbone of life. In fact, it's stated in Book 10, Hymn 87, verse 16 of the Rig Veda, which is one of the official Hindu texts, that one who deprives others of milk by slaughtering cows, O king, if such a fiend does not desist by other means, then you should not hesitate to cut off his head. This quote alone causes Hindus to abstain from eating cows, so much so that according to the Diplomat News, the government of New Delhi and Environment Ministry under India's Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act passed a notification halting the mass sale of cows. Though suspended, this action raised extreme controversy amongst, you guessed it, Caucasians, being labeled as food fascism by BBC News, which is a United Kingdom-based news source. Now, fascism is quite a powerful word, meaning in short, an authoritarian government ruled by a dictator that suppresses opposition and promotes nationalism, as stated in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The Indian ban on the mass sale of cows is nowhere near as extreme. It was only meant to benefit the largely Hindu population, which, as stated before, does not eat beef. Furthermore, cow meat was still meant to be produced, just not on a mass scale. Thus, instead of the act itself being problematic, the predisposed Western view of cows, which conflicted with that of South Asians, caused this debate. Therefore, based on the evidence given regarding cows and dogs, Westerners and Asians hold distinct cultural values regarding animals that will conflict with each other in the form of controversies, debates, and protests. No matter how big or small or parallel or divergent, antagonism will always seep its way into peace. At the beginning of my research, I listed the perceptions of dogs from all the ethnicities I could gather research about, since my question was initially inclusive of all ethnicities. However, after doing more research and realizing that listing conflicts that emerge from the varying points of views of all of the ethnicities was simply not doable and far too broad, I narrowed my research question down to only Western and Asian cultures. Thus, I omitted the research that did not pertain to these two cultures. From my findings, I hope that people will try to more actively seek justice for animals, since the examples I used in this presentation were both copious and animal cruelty, and I hope that viewers will change their discriminatory ways and be more open-minded to the ideas and values of each other. However, there's no guarantee that this will occur. Many people are racist and closed-minded. Me, a junior, high school, in Eastvale, preaching about silly conflicts likely won't change their mindset since everyone believes that their ideas are right and superior. But anyway, thanks for joining me. Till next month on Pixar Presentations.